Russia claims it is leading the global race for a coronavirus vaccine, and the Philippines is ready for the clinical trials, or the third phase. But scientists around the world are skeptical about the Sputnik V. Even the Philippine Health Chief makes it clear nothing is set in stone just yet. We go above and beyond the headlines with Russian ambassador to the Philippines, Igor Khovaev. Ambassador Khovaev, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Hi, Pia. It's a great pleasure for me.
Yes, well, Mr. Ambassador, we know you're not a doctor or an expert on medicine, but can you tell us more about why the Russian government wants to do this?
I'm sorry, what to do? To develop the vaccine? I think it's a rhetorical question because we want to save our people.
Yes.
And to help other nations.
Okay. Right. Save your people and help other nations. Mr. Ambassador, you are enrolling about 1,000 Filipinos in the third phase of the clinical trials. Would you know when the studies on the first and second clinical trials will be made available so that the health department here and the Food and Drug Administration can look at them?
Yes, of course, all these data are available. Definitely. So we have nothing to hide. So all necessary data will be conveyed, will be sent to the Department of Health and to the Food and Drug Administration very soon.
All right. Mr. Ambassador, if this works, does this mean that Russia, or at least the company, the Russian company, will be giving the vaccines for free to the Philippines, or will the Philippines be purchasing these vaccines from that company?
So I think that as far as I understand the principal position of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, it's the leading state-run institution which is responsible for producing and distributing the vaccine against COVID-19. So all options are on the table. We are ready to discuss any modalities, including clinical trials, supply of vaccine, and production of the anti-COVID vaccine on the Philippine soil. So it means that we want to build a strong partnership between our two nations.
All right. Mr. Ambassador, can you tell us more about the process that the Russian government goes through when it comes to vaccinations, vaccines such as these? No? And was this process strictly followed? Because there's a lot of reaction all around the world. But give us an idea about the process that your government went through for this.
Pia, thank you for your very good question. Of course, we monitor the reaction around the world to the official registration of the first Russian vaccine against COVID-19. And by the way, I would like to remind you that, as a rule, the reaction is very positive, encouraging, hopeful. But as you know, there is no rule without exception. So we see only two exceptions. We see a negative reaction from the United States and certain European countries. And it's quite understandable for us because we didn't expect anything else. People who express their skepticism regarding the Russian vaccine, so they try to be the leader in this race, in this competition. We are ready to compete, but from the very beginning, we propose combining efforts, intellectual and technological capabilities in order to develop a vaccine, efficient and safe. But unfortunately, the response was no. So in our view, this subject should not be politicized for any reason. It's high time for all of us to combine our efforts, not to be involved in any kind of race or unfair competition. We need to combine, I'm saying again, our efforts and resources in order to efficiently cope with this common enemy. No country, big or small, is able to defeat it. The common enemy can be defeated only through joint efforts. And we are ready and happy to extend the hand of help to our Philippine partners in this joint fight against COVID-19. But at the same time, of course, believe me, please, so we Russians, we are responsible people. We don't like risky undertakings. So everything should be proven. We have a very good Russian saying in this respect: trust but verify. That's why we propose clinical trials on phase 3. This is the final phase, which, as far as I understand, opens the door for the production of a vaccine. So everything
Okay.
should
Well,
be
yeah.
completely, totally,
Well, that's good to hear, Mr. Ambassador. You're saying what you're looking for is combined efforts, that you're willing to work with other countries. And earlier, like you said, you want to save your people and you want to help other nations. And my final question, Mr. Ambassador, is that is why Russia has said, different Russian officials have been, government officials have been saying, let's leave politics out of that, out of this.
sorry, yeah, I'm sorry. May I kindly ask you to repeat your last question?
Oh, all right. Well, I've heard many Russian government officials say in
Yes.
so many words, in so many ways, let's leave politics out of this. Earlier, you were saying this should not be a race. What your country wants is to have combined efforts from different nations around the world, because you're saying that this is a common enemy.
Yes, right. Yes, and this is our fundamental approach. We need to combine efforts. And let me clarify some other really important, I would say, essential points regarding their skepticism. The Russian vaccine is based on a proved platform. It's called adenovirus human vector. So without going into special scientific details, so as far as I understand, so this is a proven platform which has been developed since during last 6 years. And by the way, so a highly efficient vaccine against Ebola fever and the so-called MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, was developed on this platform. So that's why we have all reasons to say that the Russian vaccine is efficient and safe. But once again, all necessary trials should be conducted. By the way, for us, for Russians, it's much cheaper to conduct clinical trials in Russia than abroad. But we fully understand that we cannot isolate ourselves from the rest of the world. It's a common enemy. That's why we need partnership with other nations. And that's why we propose all options for cooperation with our interested partners, including the Philippines. So the best way to convince those who have doubts is to conduct comprehensive clinical trials. That's our fundamental approach.
All right. All right. Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much. Russian Ambassador to the Philippines, Igor Khovaev. Thank you, sir, for joining us this evening.